Hello, my name is Jim. This video is intended to provide you with information on when it's most appropriate to walk out of a car dealership. This is going to be about a 20-minute video. It's going to be a one take. It was rehearsed and prepared, but it's going to be free from any editing. It's just going to be chock full of information. This video is sponsored by the Car Dealer Cure. We are a car buying concierge service. Our company cures people of the car buying disorder, from locating your perfect vehicle to negotiating the best deal on price, on your trade-in, any warranty extras, signing you up remotely, all the way to getting you the keys in your hand and you taking delivery of your next car. And we do this by helping you to skip the car dealership experience entirely. Consider allowing us to cure you of your car buying ailments. We are located at thecardealercure.com. The link is in the description below. Contact us today for a free discovery call. So when is the right time to walk out of a car dealership? Well, in a perfect world, the answer would be never. Because if dealers provided a good enough customer experience, there would be no need to walk out, right? If most dealers were honest and transparent, it would never get that far. But the world is imperfect, and you never quite know what you're going to get when you walk into a car dealership. But here's the great part. In 2026, if you understand how to navigate the car dealership landscape, there's really very little reason to set foot inside of a car dealership to begin with. These days, most of the processes can be handled remotely. But there are still folks who handle things traditionally, as they always have, and then there are some people who live for the drama that a car dealership will bring to them. So this video will be for those hardy souls who are gluttons for punishment and will find themselves walking the lot and getting befriended by car dealership personnel. And in 2026, my intuition tells me this will probably be the majority of car shoppers. So let's say you're going the traditional 20th century route of walking into a car dealership. Nothing wrong with it, but be prepared to be held hostage, to have your time not very well respected. Be prepared to make mistakes because of your emotional state or because you've been worn down by the dealer and you're tired. A car dealership, if you're a customer, is a veritable minefield, like the carnival or the fair, where the games are kind of rigged in their favor, and the experience should not be taken lightly. Now, a word to the wise, there is no trophy that you get for walking out of a store, so don't be so primed and raring to walk out on a dealer that you experience what I call premature evacuation. As a salesperson and eventually a sales manager, I've seen people so braced and worked up about the possibility that they're going to need to walk out of the store that they just have an abrupt fit and walk out, often for really not very good reasons. Like a little bird lands on the window and they're out of there, or the salesperson drops their pen and now it's time to leave, or the customer gets a room temperature bottle of water, or the lot attendant is walking around with his pants down to the crack of his ass. And these situations are just so outrageous that the customer needs to storm out and leave. So don't be that person. You don't really win anything by leaving. The dealer personnel are trained to just move on to the next person. They might greet an average of a dozen or more people on any given day, and maybe 8 or 9 of those people are going to tell the salesperson to go pound sand. So it's very little skin off of the backs of the dealer employees to let you walk. The biggest thing that you did to them that day is that you just wasted a little chunk of their time. They swung and they missed, and they're swinging and missing for much of their day anyway. So be courteous. Don't be a jerk. Most people that work in a retail setting, in any retail setting, will tell you that you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. If you're nice, people will tend to go out of their way for you. The name of the game is to try to persuade people, not to go in and be a Karen and rudely try to make a point because you have a chip on your shoulder. It doesn't really work. Now, I understand that there are those of you who live for this kind of drama and you pull this stuff probably to feel better about yourselves. I don't know what to say about you people. Maybe you'll get a boil on your face or something. Okay, all that said, here are the circumstances when you should be walking out of a car dealership. First, if the dealer won't honor an advertised selling price, it's important to note that a selling price is the price of a car, not some promotional lease payment that you saw on a commercial that's based on approved credit that you'd never qualify for, or some monthly calculator that you were playing with on the dealer's website where you plug in a bunch of assumptions and it spits out a payment that no bank would ever approve you for. I'm talking, here's this, let's say 2026 Toyota Camry that is, say, $36,000 MSRP on the sticker, and the price that everyone can buy it for is, let's say they advertise on their website, $33,000. Not just if you're active duty military, or you recently graduated college, or you're a card-carrying member of the National Audubon Society. This is the price that is good for everyone. And keep in mind, this price will probably not include tax, title, and license, which is what gets you to that out-the-door figure. And incidentally, car-buying consumers have this out-the-door fetish that I see all over social media. What out-the-door figure did they give you? What was your out-the-door? What was his out-the-door? What was that out-the-door? It doesn't make sense for dealers to advertise out-the-door figures, nor does it make sense for people across state lines to be comparing their out-the-door figures as kind of like a car shopping pissing contest or something, because tax, title, and license can vary, and it will vary based on what state or what county you'll be registering the car in. People registering in places like Louisiana and Nevada are going to get smoked with taxes, and people living in places like New Hampshire and Montana will do a lot better. DMV charges will vary by person and by state as well. This all affects the out the door, and on an identical car, it will vary for everyone. You can generally call ahead and get an out-the-door quote if you'd like by providing the zip code you plan on registering the car in. That'll at least get you a close idea. But what you need to look for is when you show up to buy that $33,000 Camry, and before they've added in for your tax, title, and license, they say something to you like, oh, we're going to sneak in this package on you right here that includes low jack and pinstripes and paint sealant and special air in the tires and window etching, and oh, by the way, it adds another $2,500 to the price of the car. That's a classic bait and switch. If a dealer sneaks something like that in on you, or either refuses to remove it, or if they're like, well, we already installed this crap on the car, it's kind of already there, they're going to need to be willing to lower the price down on that package to something that you could live with if you're being forced to keep it. If I'm in a situation where I've been given no choice, I probably want to pay something like pennies on the dollar for a package that I didn't ask for, but is now stuck on the car. And often you'll find that a dealer is willing to make concessions just to keep you from leaving. So no baiting and switching on price, and if you're being forced a dealer-installed package, you'll want to pay nothing or next to nothing if it is to stay on. Another time you'll want to give up and leave is if you've decided you want to buy the car and you're in the negotiation phase and you're unable to get the salesperson or the sales manager to get past the topic of what kind of monthly payment you're trying to stay within. Most people have a maximum monthly payment in mind, but what's much more important in the long term is the amount you agree to pay for the car and what the total out-the-door amount is after they've added in for the taxes and the fees. Your payment is just bank math. You're going to qualify for certain specific terms when you apply. Your payment is going to be based on how much your loan is for how long you want to take the loan out for, and at what specific interest rate you happen to qualify for. The bank's payment calculation doesn't change once you're working with these fixed amounts. And as a side note, maybe have half a clue on how an auto payment calculator works before you go into a dealership and waste a bunch of everyone's time, including your own. You're not buying a $50,000 car with maybe $500 to put down and getting to a $400 a month loan payment. That's just ridiculous. And no amount of dealership magic or, hey, this is your lucky day, is going to change the fact that you're looking at a car that's probably about twice as much as you can afford. So have an idea what your payment ballpark will be on your own before shopping for your dream car, and just focus on the bottom dollar price rather than the payments. Stick with the bottom line, the payments will work themselves out. Next, I would also walk out if a dealer insists that in order to get a certain price, you must use the financing that they provide for you. And as a caveat, my exception would be unless their bank can get you better terms than your bank. I think it's completely reasonable to go with the dealer's financing option if their terms are better than your pre-approval. You still need to do your due diligence and have that pre-approval in place. So you'll need to apply with an independent lender before you show up to the store. Not just show up with an advertisement or a flyer from the bank in your hand with what you might qualify for. You need to have an actual pre-approval in hand where you've put in an application with a lender and that bank or credit union came back to you with, okay, you qualify for this. I can't begin to tell you how many advertisements I've received in the mail that says, you're approved for this or you're approved for that. And when I applied, it turned out I wasn't pre-approved for anything. And it also cost me a hard pull on my credit to find that out as well. Back when I was a finance manager, we routinely had lenders that would match or slightly beat the terms of a customer's pre-approval just so that we as the dealer could earn that loan. Or maybe they'd match the rate but give the customer a longer term to help further lower the payment. So I think it's completely reasonable for a dealer to agree to a selling price with the use of their bank only if they can get you a better deal than what you already have in place. And remember, it requires you to have already applied with your private lender, to already have your pre-approval letter in your hand when you arrive at that store. The dealer needs something to beat. And I would walk out only if the dealer insisted that you use their financing, but their program is not as good as the one that you already have. Okay, also, I would walk out if the bottom line numbers that you agree to, once you've agreed to purchase the car, if that changes once you get into the business office. Either that or the payment goes up on you. So when you're negotiating with a salesperson at the salesperson's desk and you agree to figures or payments on their little single sheet of paper and that they have you sign or initial, and they tell you, okay, congratulations, we'll get the car ready for you now. And they go and tell their manager. What some people don't realize is you haven't signed a contract. Not yet. The figures you agree to on that little piece of paper are what the management team go by to load your deal into their computer and then to build out your official contract as you prepare to go into the business office and sign their long scroll of a contract to make it official, to make that purchase official. Although these days a lot of signing is happening on computer tablets in the business office. But if they're honorable, those figures will be the same by the time they've created your official contract. That's how it worked at my stores. That's how it'll work at most stores. But if they up and switch the terms on you to their advantage, I would walk out. I'll share with you a quick story. Eons ago, when I was in my mid-20s and I was making my second new car purchase, I worked a deal out on this new Ford Ranger. And I thought I did a pretty decent job of working the terms. I had a trade, I had an idea what my bank interest rate should have been. And when I was done negotiating with the salesperson, I initialed his little worksheet and agreed to buy the car at those terms. And a half hour later, I'm sitting in the finance office with a guy who was probably about twice my age back then. And I was reviewing the contract. Now, interestingly, after I declined all of the back-end products and warranties that he offered me, the payment was something like $35 less than what I had agreed to originally with the salesperson out on the floor. Now, payment packing is another shady dealer practice entirely, and it's a lesson for another video. But I had agreed to a $480 a month payment with the salesperson, and the finance guy was telling me the actual payment was only $444. My term hadn't changed, my rate hadn't changed, so I wasn't about to argue. And in my mind, I was probably thinking I was getting one over on the dealer. But I know now that they knew exactly what they were doing. I see on the line item side of my contract a $300 charge that I didn't recognize. And I asked the finance manager about it. And what he said, his response was something that I'll never forget. He says, "Oh, that's just the pork package." And I'm like, huh? What the is a pork package? And he says, yeah, it includes, and this was back in 2003, so I forget what he said, but he rattled off that it covered some administrative tasks that the dealer took care of. And I realized today that that was probably just a processing fee before I knew what a processing fee was. But to sneak it in at the last minute in the finance office when I was tired and ready to go home is where they messed up. The 25-year-old me just sidestepped it. After all, I was saving $35 a month on my payment, or so I thought. But the 48-year-old me today, especially after having the career experiences that I've had, would have told that dude where the friggin' dog died. And to this day, I think about how insulting and unprofessional that was, that he addressed a concern of a customer's by telling them that they were buying a pork package during a transaction. And I'm sure they were all laughing at me behind closed doors afterwards. Pork package. What was I in, an adult movie? Okay, the next circumstance under which I would leave is if a salesperson or a sales manager or a finance manager tells you you have to buy certain extras like a warranty or prepaid maintenance or wheel and tire repair or paint protection in order to get a certain deal on the price of the car. Yes, reducing the price of the car reduces dealer profit, and those back-end products will increase their profits back up. But there should not be any quid pro quo when it comes to providing you with a certain deal on the price of the car. As I had mentioned before, I don't mind the use of the dealer's financing tactic to honor a certain deal if their program is better, but you shouldn't be force-fed additional products just to get a better deal on the price of a car. Another situation where I'd walk is if a dealer tells you that you cannot test drive a car without a credit application or a cash deposit, except in a situation where you're coming in to test drive a high-end or a specialty car. The main reason a dealer or a salesperson would stipulate this is basically because they don't want you wasting their time. And that happens constantly. All of the best car sales training out there has you taking customer credit applications after they've test driven the car because the buyer is more engaged and invested in the process, so it's less of an intrusive request for the customer. However, there is always a certain segment of people who will come in posing as a customer, and I did this myself when I was younger in my late teenage years, because they want to test drive that high-end, limited production, high-performance model. And that's all they're wanting to do, was drive it. Now, some younger, less experienced buyers are quite serious about actually purchasing that vehicle, but they have no idea that that $80,000 car that they're interested in is going to translate into something like a $1,200 or $1,400 a month car payment. And if their budget is something like $500 a month and they don't have much of a down payment, they just wasted their time. And they wasted the salesperson's time. They put mileage, often hard mileage, on a valuable and limited production car. They put the car at risk of damage, and they burned a few gallons of premium gasoline. These tire kickers are just coming in and taking money and opportunities from hardworking people. I've had it happen. So generally speaking, test drive first, then if the car has your attention, then you give the dealer a credit application. Just don't think you're walking into a dealer and saying, oh, I want to test drive that Ferrari or that one of 50 limited edition Jaguar or that delivery mileage collector quality one-of-a-kind Corvette because I'm bored and just killing time this afternoon. I'm an advocate for car buyers, and this information is intended to help you do battle with car dealers. But it's not intended to teach you how to go in and waste the time of people who don't earn a salary and are on 100% commission, because at that point you're just stealing from them, and you're stealing from their families. It's like working the hell out of a server or a bartender for hours on end and then leaving without tipping. The tips are their only source of income. Same when you waste the time of a commission-only salesperson. Okay, another situation, this phenomenon of charging a reconditioning fee as a separate line item and in addition to the price of the car. So you see a used car advertised for $33,000 selling price, and then $1,995 extra to recondition that car. And the dealer springs this price on you in the middle of the process while they're showing you the figures. I'm sorry, but reconditioning, putting money into a car to make it ready for retail sale, is just one of the many costs of doing business. If you add separately for that expense, then why wouldn't you add in separately for other expenses, like a line item for the dealership rent expense, or your share of the dealer's monthly electric bill, or a line item for a salesperson's commission, or an amount to cover the general manager's monthly drug and escort habit. A reconditioning fee is just another excuse to add profit to the front end of the transaction. Make sure you're paying at or about the fair market value of a vehicle. Otherwise, leave. Finally, another major reason to walk away from a dealer is if they fail to disclose the correct title status of a vehicle. I don't have anything against vehicles with sordid pasts, so long as a good effort was made to try to repair that vehicle. But a dealer trying to hide the history is not kosher. If a dealer represents a car as having a clean title and it turns out that that title is branded, I'd probably walk. Because if the dealer is willing to be shady enough to hide the title status, who knows what other tricks they might have up their sleeves. So again, I don't have anything against a vehicle that has a clean title but has had an accident on the Carfax report, or even a vehicle with a branded title that was repaired properly. But be prepared to adjust the fair market value of that vehicle appropriately to compensate for that damage history. And if a dealer lies about it, well, I'm probably not going to be introducing that person to my sister. Okay, so to recap, don't be so ready to walk out that you take off prematurely. You're just wasting a bunch of everyone's time, including your own. You'll want to leave if the dealer won't honor the advertised price. You'll want to leave if you can't get the dealer past the discussion of just focusing on payment. You do want to negotiate the bottom line. No quid pro quo, none of this. In order to get a certain deal, you need to buy this as well, unless it's an offer to get a bank approval that's even better than the one that you already have. You'll want to walk if any of the terms of the deal change from the time that you agree to buy the car on the sales floor to once you get into the business office and the finance manager has a new bottom line or payments that are different from what you originally agreed to. You don't need to leave a deposit or do a credit application to test drive a car, except in the case of high-end or specialty cars. If you're trying to play with rare and super expensive stuff, they have every right to try to qualify you as a worthy prospect. Don't pay a separate reconditioning fee. A fair selling price on a car is a fair selling price, period. Do your homework and find out what a fair price is for the car that you're looking at. And finally, walk out if the dealer tries to hide or lie about the title status of a vehicle or its accident history. These aren't all bad cars, but a sordid past does not increase their value. So know what you're buying, know what you're paying. That's it for now. If we can help to relieve you of the burden of this arduous process, please let us know. You can find us at thecardealercure.com. The link is in the description below. Contact us today for a free discovery call.